everyone and welcome to the Art of Teaching Art. Today I'm going to show you how to create a tonal trace monoprint. So this is a monoprint using printing ink, and instead of just doing an outline I'm going to add tone. As you can see from these examples, you can create a really lovely tonal drawing with dark and light areas, and it's a really interesting material to explore, and there's lots of things that you can do with it. So a few different examples here. With this one I've used more extreme mark making to create the tone with the dark and light areas. I've used hatching here across the pine cone to create the texture in the sections, but also to create the tones, though I've put cross hatches closer together for the darker areas and further apart for the lighter areas. With these other pieces I've simply shaded as you would with a pencil drawing and a pencil, but on top of the ink to create the different tones. So there's quite a variety of things that you can do with it. So setup, you need something to print on. I've got a piece of acrylic plastic here. You could also use a piece of glass. I've got printing ink and a roller. I've got an image attached to a piece of paper. And I've also got a pen and a pencil. I'm going to be using both of these today. The last thing you need is some masking tape. So first thing is to cut out your image and attach it to your paper. This is just normal drawing paper. Then you can add your printing ink onto your board. So I just do a little blob, and then you're going to roll that out to the same size as your image. So you want this to be nice and even. So I feel like this is even, but I feel like I've added a little bit too much ink. So if that's the case, just get a spare piece of paper and just blot it a little bit. You could even use this for collage later. Just roll over it again. So just place your image down on top. Don't put your hands on it at all. And then you need to tape it in place. So I'm just going to put a little bit of masking tape in each of the corners. So with this, the technique is slightly different. So what you want to do is do the darkest areas first and then move to the lighter areas. So as you work, the ink will dry. As it dries, it becomes lighter. So you're best to do the darker areas first and then later on do the lighter areas. Now, what I also want to do is I'm going to use the pen for the darker areas, and then I'm going to use the pencil later on to shade some of the lighter areas. So again, we need to support our hand with our wrist, or you can work from the side of the paper. You ideally don't want to put your hand on top of the ink at all. So I'm going to start off drawing the darker bits, and then I'll move on to the lighter bits. So for the pupil here, I'm just going over it with the pen. This is the darkest area of the piece, so I want it to be completely shaded in with the pen and paying careful attention to the highlight. I will go round the highlight. I'm not going to add the eyelash lines into the highlight just because I think the ink will kind of fuzz over. Then move on to the edge of the iris. So a nice smooth circle. And then we're going to add some of the detail in. I'm actually going to do this with just a sharp pencil. I'm going to lean on the side and reach in. And I'm just going to shade. I'm going to press a little bit harder and then lighter, and that's going to get that range of tones just like it would if you were doing a pencil drawing. Pretty much you just need to treat this like you're doing a pencil drawing, but obviously you can't necessarily see the tones, so it takes a little bit of practice to kind of get used to it. And then I'm going to use the pen to just add some of the detail in around the eye. I'm not trying to add too much, but just a few lines tracing over the details that you see, and then just some darker tones at the top here. And then I'm going to work on the outline of the eye. So I've got some darker areas here, so I want to make sure that those appear darker. And then across the top of the eye. With these bits at the bottom here, I'm going to just use a pencil so I can get a softer line. And then on top of the eye, the pen again to add that darker area. And then I'll work with the pencil. So now I'm going to work over the surface of the drawing with the pencil, adding the darker and lighter tones. So pressing harder on the darker areas and lighter on the lighter areas. Now, some of your marks will show up, so you need to kind of be neat and try and go in one direction, or deliberately do cross-hatching style marks. Sometimes it's nice to work with a thicker pencil as well with this. That always works quite nicely as well because you get a smoother tone. You could even use your finger to smudge areas to create that lighter touch as well. You need to be quite careful about just not colouring every single detail in, because you could end up with a very smudgy print. And making sure I'm leaving the highlighted areas as well. So I'm going to add the eyelashes on as well, so I'm going to do that in pen. Obviously it's a little bit easier because we're just tracing over the lines that we see. So I'm going to lift that print up to just check it. Yeah, nice. I really like the effect of that. I don't think I've left anything out either. Okay, good. So remove my print totally. There is my print. So you can see I've got the highlights and darker areas. I've got the bit where I rubbed my finger over it at the top, but I've also got some sharp detail. And this will be a really lovely print to work into a collage or work over the top of. Thank you so much for watching and have a really great day.